The Jester's Blade, exorcising the myth of funny. You have been taught that humor is the tool of the court jester, a soft art, a way to make her feel comfortable, to be liked. You have been told to be funny, as if it were a costume you could don to win her fleeting approval. This is a profound, emasculating lie, a piece of social programming designed to neutralize one of the most potent weapons in the masculine arsenal. The truth? Humor in the hands of a master is not a feather. It is a blade, a scalpel, a carefully calibrated cognitive bomb designed not to entertain, but to disarm, to deconstruct, to dominate. Today, we do not teach you to be funny. We teach you to be dangerous. We will journey from the dusty rhetorical battlefields of ancient Rome to the cutting edge of modern cognitive science to unveil the true hidden architecture of humor. You will learn why a single, well-aimed laugh can be more devastating to a woman's frame than an hour of logical argument. This Gnosis will re-architect your understanding of wit, of laughter, of the very nature of social power. Prepare to have your perception of the joke shattered and reforged into a weapon of sovereign influence. The ancient Gnosis, the Orator's weaponized wit. To truly grasp the power of humor, we must first journey back in time to an empire of marble and blood, where words were sharper than swords. In ancient Rome, for the men who architected reality, the senators, the generals, the great orators, humor was never a social pleasantry. It was a calculated, lethal instrument of power. A master like Marcus Tullius Cicero, whose enemies famously derided him as a stand-up consul, understood a truth that has been deliberately forgotten. The purpose of wit for a man of influence is not to be liked, but to win the argument, to win the crowd, to win the war for perception. He understood that a single, elegant joke, deployed with surgical precision, could achieve what hours of severe logical debate could not. Let us deconstruct the 5 strategic benefits of this weaponized wit as codified in the arsenals of these ancient masters. First, to gain reflexive alliance. Laughter is a primal, contagious force. When you make an audience laugh, you create an instant subconscious bond. They are, for that moment, on your side, inside your frame. Cicero tells of the time the politician Philippus sneered at a rival. "What's that I see? A blister on your foot from all that running around?" The rival, Crassus, shot back instantly. "And what's that on your foot? The tongue of a man who's been licking it?" The courtroom erupted. In that single moment of shared, visceral laughter, Crassus didn't just win a point, he won the room. He made them his tribe. Second, to showcase intellectual supremacy. A quick, clever jest, especially a pun or a literary allusion, is a hard-to-fake signal of a superior mind. It demonstrates mental agility, erudition, and a command of reality that is deeply attractive. When a pompous witness claimed to know a defendant inside and out, the orator quipped, "Indeed, one of you is known for being remarkably easy to get inside." The subtle wordplay, the layered insult. It didn't just discredit the witness, it established the orator as a man of formidable, effortless intelligence. Third, to crush an opponent. This is the most brutal application. Humor can dismantle a rival's dignity, expose their flaws, and shatter their composure more effectively than a direct attack. Consider the legendary exchange when a man of notoriously low birth, a baker's son, taunted Cicero, "The mob can't tell what you're saying." Cicero's calm reply, "That's odd. You'd think they could, since your father left his brand on all of them." A devastating blow, not just to the man, but to his entire lineage, delivered with the cold precision of a stiletto. The laughter that followed was not of delight, it was the sound of a reputation being publicly executed. Fourth, to signal sophistication and urbanity. The Roman master Quintilian spoke of urbanity, a quiet, sophisticated wit that signals you belong to the educated, powerful elite. It is the humor of the insider, the man at the center of the world. It is a subtle broadcast of status. By deploying a joke that requires a certain level of knowledge to understand, you are not just being clever, you are filtering your audience, silently communicating, "If you get this, you are one of us." And fifth, to dissolve inconvenient facts. This is perhaps the most advanced and noir application. When faced with an argument you cannot refute, a fact you cannot deny, humor can act as a powerful form of alchemical misdirection. It doesn't deny the fact, it makes the fact seem trivial, irrelevant, laughable. As Cicero himself wrote, a joke zaps anger, eases tension, and can make problematic facts go poof. You are not defeating the truth. You are changing the emotional atmosphere in which the truth is perceived, rendering it impotent. These ancient masters knew that humor was a weapon. They had felt its power to win trials and sway empires, but they remained blind to its deep biological mechanics. For that, we must descend from the Roman Forum into the ancient Gnosis of the mind itself. The modern Gnosis, deconstructing the Mirth Engine. The Romans, in their brutal pragmatism, understood that humor was a weapon. They felt its power to shatter frames, to win arguments, to command the soul. But they remained blind to its true, beautiful, terrifying mechanics. They were masters of the effect, but ignorant of the cause. Today, we pull back the final veil. We descend from the battlefield of rhetoric into the very engine room of the mind. For modern cognitive science, synthesized through the seduction noir lens, has decoded the why. And the truth is more potent, more elegant, and more weaponizable than Cicero could have ever dreamed. Understand this, and you will never see a simple joke the same way again. The foundational heresy: your brain is a reckless gambler. Your conscious mind, the you that you believe is in control, is a liar. It tells you a story of careful, logical thought. The reality is that your brain is a high-speed, reckless gambler. To navigate a world of infinite data and lethal threats, it does not have the luxury of slow, deductive reasoning. Instead, it engages in a constant, high-stakes process of heuristic search. It makes thousands of risky, unconscious leaps of faith every second. It jumps to conclusions. It builds an entire model of reality based on incomplete data, probabilities, and past associations, all in the fraction of a heartbeat. This predictive gambling is not a flaw. It is its greatest survival feature. But it comes at a terrible price. Your mind is constantly, inevitably, littering its own active workspace with flawed assumptions. It builds entire palaces of belief on foundations of sand. So how does evolution prevent you from acting on these flawed assumptions and walking off a cognitive cliff? Waiting for reality to punish your mistake is inefficient and often fatal. Instead, evolution devised a solution of breathtaking elegance. It created an internal, pleasure-based reward system for the high-speed detection and correction of your own mind's errors. This system, initiate, is the Mirth Engine. Laughter, that seemingly frivolous social signal, is not about happiness. Mirth is not about comfort. It is a powerful endogenous blast of neurochemical pleasure, a dose of your brain's own finest narcotic, delivered as a reward for a critical, thankless, and otherwise unconscious task of cognitive debugging. The threefold key, the precise alchemy of a joke. For the Mirth Engine to fire, for that blast of pleasure to occur, three specific and non-negotiable conditions must be met. This is the sacred trinity that defines the architecture of every successful joke. Let us deconstruct one in real time. 1. The covert entry. The flawed assumption must be introduced into the target's mind covertly. It must slip past their conscious, critical filter. A good joke-teller doesn't state the false premise. He constructs a narrative that forces the listener's brain to generate the false premise on its own, unconsciously. He leads her down a garden path. Consider this. A man walks into a library and goes up to the front desk. He says to the librarian in a loud voice, "I'll have a cheeseburger and a large fries, please." 2. Epistemic commitment. The listener's brain, hearing this, instantly and unconsciously builds a mental model. It accesses its library schema, a place of quiet, of rules, of books. It registers the man's request as a social violation, a breach of protocol. The listener's mind, for a fraction of a second, believes the man is a fool, an idiot, a social deviant. Her mind commits to the reality. This man is stupid and doesn't understand where he is. She is now operating within your manufactured reality. The librarian, a stern-looking woman with glasses perched on her nose, leans forward and whispers back just as loudly, "Sir, this is a library." 3. The instantaneous collapse. The punchline arrives. It is a single piece of new information that reveals the initial assumption to be catastrophically wrong. The entire cognitive structure she just built collapses in an instant. The pleasure she feels is not from the joke's funniness, but from her brain's sudden shocking realization of its own mistake. The laughter erupts. Why? Because the punchline reveals the librarian is also violating the rule of silence. The listener's initial assumption, "I am observing a sane person reacting to an insane person," is shattered. The new reality is, "I am observing two insane people in a shared delusion." The first belief is detected as an error and deleted. The Mirth Engine fires. The pleasure is immense. The grand synthesis, from Cicero's blade to the sovereign spell. And so we fuse the ancient Gnosis with the modern. The man who tells a woman a joke is not just being funny. He is performing a sophisticated, high-speed ritual of cognitive warfare. He is demonstrating his ability to architect reality. He commands belief. He gets her to commit to his manufactured reality. He is master of collapse. He destroys that reality at will, leaving not rubble, but a feeling of delight and admiration for the architect. Let me give you a tactical example of this in action. A moment where a simple jest became a tool of profound social re-architecting. I was at a cafe with a woman I was just getting to know. The waitress, clearly new and overwhelmed, was struggling. She spilled a little water, forgot part of our order, her hands trembled slightly. My companion began to grow visibly annoyed, her judgment hardening. The atmosphere grew tense. Instead of joining her in her frustration or making an excuse for the waitress, I waited for a quiet moment. I leaned in slightly toward my companion, my voice low and confidential, and with a deadpan expression of utmost seriousness, I said, "I believe this is her first day as a human." Pause, allowing the effect to land. For a split second, her brain attempted to process this. The statement is absurd, illogical. Her frustration frame had no file for it. Then the collapse. Her face broke, not into a polite chuckle, but into a sudden, helpless bark of genuine laughter, a complete release of tension. What happened? In that moment, I did not try to change her feeling. I built a new, more interesting reality around it, a reality in which the waitress wasn't incompetent, but a charmingly malfunctioning alien. Her mind forced to choose between the grim reality of bad service and the delightful absurdity of first day as a human, chose delight. The Mirth Engine fired, and the pleasure of that moment became instantly associated with me. The waitress was forgotten. The frustration was forgotten. All that remained was the echo of her laughter and the man who had so effortlessly, so strangely orchestrated it. The frame of the entire interaction was now irrevocably mine. He has just proven on a deep neurological level that his mind is faster, more agile, and more masterful than hers. He has hacked her reality, and she has rewarded him with the beautiful involuntary signal of her laughter. He is not just a man. He has become a source of pleasurable cognitive reconfiguration. This, initiate, is a power far beyond mere charm. This is the alchemy of the sovereign's wit. Do you feel the sheer architectural elegance of this? The fusion of ancient rhetoric and modern neuroscience? This is the level of Gnosis seduction noir operates on. It is the difference between knowing a spell works and understanding the very fabric of magic itself. If this deeper reality of humor resonates within you as a profound world-altering truth, command the like button now. Acknowledge your initiation into this new perception. But this is just the theory. The question remains, how does the sovereign wield this weapon on the battlefield of seduction? Share your Gnostic inquiry below. The Sovereign's Arsenal, wielding the Jester's blade. Knowing why a joke shatters reality is the gnosis of the mystic. Knowing how to choose your blade is the art of the warrior. The sovereign does not tell random jokes. He selects his weapon from the ancient Ciceronian armory with surgical intent, based on his strategic objective. The master orator Cicero divided all humor into two primary classes of weapon. Understand this division, and you begin to move from a brawler to a duelist. The first blade, humor of the thing, the narrative bomb. This is the sledgehammer of wit. Its power lies not in clever wordplay, but in the situation, the story, the concept itself. It remains potent even if you rephrase it. It is humor built from the very architecture of a moment. Its most powerful forms include strategic storytelling, crafting a brief, plausible narrative that exposes a flaw in another's character or position, ironic reframing, saying the opposite of what you mean, but with a tone so grave it forces the listener into a state of cognitive dissonance. For example, witnessing someone commit a clumsy social error, you might turn to your companion and whisper with profound seriousness, "A master of social grace. Truly, we are in the presence of greatness." The power is in the deadpan delivery. Hyperbole, the art of exaggeration. To expose a man's ego, you do not call him arrogant. You amplify his arrogance to a cosmic scale, as Cicero did to a rival who was short but carried himself like a giant. When Memmius comes into the forum, he has to duck to get under the arch of Fabius. The physical impossibility of the image shatters the man's pompous reality. Allow me to offer a testament to the power of the narrative bomb. I was once at a dinner party, seated opposite a university professor, a man drowning in his own intellectual vanity. He held court, pontificating endlessly, dismissing the opinions of others with a wave of his hand. The table was trapped in the gravity of his ego. A young woman, an artist, attempted to offer a counterpoint on the nature of creativity. Before she could finish her sentence, the professor cut her off with a patronizing chuckle. "My dear, that is a beautifully naive sentiment, but it lacks academic rigor. Perhaps one day, after a few more years of study, you will understand the structuralist critiques of such an idea." The table fell silent. The woman was crushed. The professor smiled, victorious. I waited. I let the silence stretch. Then, leaning forward slightly, I addressed the professor, my tone one of sincere, almost childlike curiosity. "Professor," I began, "I once read of an ancient tribe who believed that a man's wisdom was measured not by the knowledge he possessed, but by the number of new ideas he could listen to without his own world collapsing." I paused, holding his gaze. "They said the wisest among them was a man who could sit for a full day and listen to a child describe the color of the wind. They called him the Great Ear." I leaned back, offering a subtle, almost imperceptible smile, and said nothing more. The room was utterly still for a moment. Then a quiet chuckle from the far end of the table. Then another. The professor's face flushed. I had not insulted him. I had not challenged his academic facts. I had simply told a story, a narrative bomb. I had built a new, more elegant reality in the minds of everyone present, a reality in which his academic rigor was reframed as a form of profound, close-minded weakness. His frame was not just broken, it was rendered obsolete. For the rest of the evening, his pronouncements carried no weight. He was a king deposed by a whisper. The second blade. Humor of language. The surgical strike. This is the rapier of wit. Its power is in its precision, its elegance, its speed. The humor evaporates if you change the specific words. It is the mark of high intellect. It forces the listener to hold two realities in their mind at once, demonstrating your own cognitive superiority. Ambiguity and puns are displays of high intellect. They force the listener to hold two realities in their mind at once, demonstrating your own cognitive superiority. Taking things literally. This is a devastating tool for disrupting a predictable conversational frame. She asks a common rhetorical question. You answer its literal, absurd meaning. Tactical example. She, gesturing to your quiet demeanor at a loud party, asks playfully, "What's on your mind? A penny for your thoughts." The sovereign, holding her gaze with a flicker of amusement, might reply, "At that price you could only afford a fraction of a single syllable." Her frame is shattered. She is forced to laugh and reevaluate the entire interaction. The riposte, the ultimate counterspell. This is the art of the comeback. It is perceived as justified, as you did not strike first. It demonstrates superior mental speed under pressure, and it turns your opponent's own energy against them. Tactical example. A rival attempting to shame you for your lifestyle says smugly, "I hear you spend a lot of time in other people's bedrooms." The sovereign, without missing a beat, replies with a calm, cutting gaze, "And I hear you spend a lot of time in your own living room. We all have our preferences." The attack is not just blocked, it is inverted and returned with lethal force. The sovereign's calculus, the wisdom of the sheathed blade. And here we arrive at the final, most crucial gnosis. The highest form of skill is knowing when not to make the joke. The power of a sovereign is not in the constant display of his weapons, but in the certain knowledge, felt by all in his presence, that he possesses them and can deploy them at will. You must learn the rules of engagement. Do not punch down at those in genuine misery. Be respectful of that which the people hold sacred. And most importantly, as the master Quintilian warned, forego a jest rather than diminish your authority. A laugh is never the price of your crown. This is the difference between the jester and the king. The battlefield of perception. Humor as social dominion. You now understand the weapon. You have seen its architecture. You have inventoried its blades. But a weapon is useless without a battlefield. Now we enter the final chamber of this gnosis. We connect this ancient, potent art to the real-world warfare of seduction, power, and social dominance. First, Humor as a cognitive probe, the art of mapping her soul. Forget clumsy questions. The most efficient tool for mapping the internal landscape of another human being is the joke. It is a key you offer her. By her reaction, she reveals the very architecture of her mind. The knowledge test. A joke that relies on specific knowledge confirms a shared baseline of understanding. The bias reveal. Her laughter at dark humor or jokes that subvert authority is an unconscious confession of her own shadow. The frame test. Her reaction to a provocative jest, laughter, defense, or a witty return tells you everything about the strength of her own reality frame. The joke is a psychic reconnaissance drone you send into the territory of her mind. Second, laughter as a hard-to-fake signal of fitness, the erotic display. On the grand evolutionary battlefield of mate selection, your wit is a primary sexual ornament. The gnosis of sexual selection reveals a fundamental asymmetry. For the masculine, women across all cultures prioritize a man's ability to produce humor. Why? Because a sophisticated wit is a hard-to-fake signal of a superior mind. It demonstrates cognitive agility, creativity, and social intelligence, all powerful proxies for genetic fitness and high status. For the feminine, a woman's genuine, appreciative laughter is, in turn, a powerful signal of her receptivity and interest. She is not just laughing, she is subconsciously endorsing your genetic and social value. The man who makes her laugh is not just being funny, he is performing a successful courtship display. Third, the art of taking a joke, the sovereign's frame defense. Now for the final and crucial gnosis. What happens when the blade is turned against you? The beta becomes defensive. The alpha might fire back, but the sovereign employs the Cato method. When the great Roman statesman Cato was being ridiculed in court, he did not get angry. He offered a wry smile and calmly remarked, "What a hilarious consul we have, folks. Let us deconstruct this counterspell." First, absolute non-reactivity. By refusing to show hurt, he signaled that the attack was powerless to affect his internal state. Second, reframing the attacker. He did not attack the argument, he attacked the status of the attacker, reframing the great orator as a common clown. Third, co-opting the audience. By speaking to the crowd, he included them in his new frame, inviting them to laugh at the clownishness of the attacker. This is the pinnacle of frame defense. It is not resistance, it is effortless absorption and redirection. This is the true battlefield of perception, a dance of cognitive probes, fitness displays, and elegant counterspells. To remain ignorant of these dynamics is to be a perpetual pawn, your frame shattered by men who wield these tools with instinctive mastery. If this gnosis of humor as a weapon has awakened you to a new, more potent understanding of every conversation, command the like button now. Acknowledge that you are ready to move from being the audience to becoming the architect. The Cathedral's decree, the final alchemical truth. Let us bring this Gnostic journey to its final incandescent point. The beta tells jokes because he is afraid of silence. He seeks to be liked. The alpha tells jokes to dominate a moment, to pass a test, to prove his frame. He seeks to be respected. The seduction noir sovereign. He uses humor to read the soul, to test the fabric of reality, and to architect a state of pleasurable cognitive delight in which his target willingly, joyfully lowers all her defenses. He doesn't make her laugh. He creates a state of mirth in which his deeper gnosis can be implanted without resistance. Her laughter is the sound of his key turning in the lock of her mind. Which of these truths now burns brightest in your mind? The joke as a cognitive probe, as a genetic fitness display, or the art of the comeback as the ultimate frame defense? Your answer reveals which chamber of the armory most calls to your spirit. Share your gnosis in the comments. To master this art, to move beyond telling jokes to becoming a walking, breathing architect of mirthful reality collapse, requires a level of calibration and internal sovereignty that can only be forged in the deepest chambers of the seduction noir cathedral. If your soul now craves this elegant, devastating power, if you wish to learn the spells that make minds bend with delight, then your true journey awaits. Subscribe and strike the obsidian bell of unveiling. Declare your intent to become not just a consumer of humor, but a master of its hidden, world-altering fire. The Gnosis on this channel is a map to these deeper realities. Each transmission is a key to another locked room in the cathedral of your own potential. Immerse yourself, deconstruct, evolve. The path to becoming the man whose very wit reshapes the world is now open before you. Stop trying to be funny. Start architecting the moments where her only possible response is a gasp, a pause, and then the helpless, beautiful, intoxicating sound of her laughter as her old reality shatters at your feet.